Okay, let's talk about how to recover after a setback. Because honestly, the goal is learning how to come back from fear based thinking. At the end of the day, you do have the power to choose how you respond to things, and that's a really big deal. That's the ability to redefine who you are as a person. Because anxious attachment will make you constantly morph yourself into whatever keeps the peace. And scientifically, it makes sense because your amygdala, it's the fear component in your brain, wants to protect you, right? People with anxious attachment, though, tend to become highly sensitive to rejection, social disconnection, and that survival and belonging center of your brain, the amygdala, it now tends to be hyper alert to emotional shifts, conflict, and perceived abandonment. So what happens? If someone likes something, you suddenly like it too. If somebody dislikes something, all of a sudden you don't like it, or you're uncomfortable liking it in the end. You start changing your personality, your preferences, your opinions, your boundaries just to avoid rejection, and that creates pressure in relationships, pressure for people to perform, to become whatever it is you need them to be comfortable, and that's not real connection. That's fear. And real relationships require mutual respect, mutual honesty, freedom to just be themselves and be human. So, this goes a lot deeper than just recovering from a setback, because if you truly follow these things, you can recover after a mistake that you made, yes, but you can also rebuild relationships after a setback. It doesn't have to be the end of the world, even if you linger on it a little too long. Even if you slip back into old patterns, you're still one decision away from changing your direction again. One honest moment away, one boundary away. Trust me, I recently let insecurities get the best of me again, and I was just one choice away from becoming who I'm trying to be just by acknowledging it. So, number one, we got to stop shaming ourselves. I know how frustrating it is when you feel like you were doing so well, learning, applying, growing, finding your peace, getting better with people pleasing, emotional regulation, things like that. And then bam, insecurity hits you again. You feel like you made a fool of yourself big time. Big mistake. And it's like, okay, well, what's done is done. We just have to move on. Get better. My husband once told me, players mess up too. You cannot allow that setback to stop your growth. Romans 8:1 says, there is now no condemnation for those who are in Jesus Christ. Christ Jesus. You can't sit in your shame or guilt just because you slip back into an old pattern. You have to give yourself grace and keep moving forward. And instead of looking at it emotionally, I want you to start looking at things logically. You know, what caused this setback? What happened here that made me respond this way? Like, yes, this happened. I reacted like this. And afterwards, I felt guilty or ashamed because I know better now. And I still did it. I get that so much. But listen, part of healing is forgiving yourself for being human. Reminding yourself that we don't want to react to things. We want to respond to things. And when you think about it, in a neuroscience perspective, when we react emotionally, especially from fear, insecurity, that amygdala again activates before any logical part of the brain. The prefrontal cortex fully processes the situation. Your amygdala is already reacting. So the goal is to never feel triggered. The goal is learning how to pause long enough to choose a response instead of an impulsive reaction, the way your amygdala wants you to go ahead and just react. And everything is fixable. Even if the situation can't be undone, you can repair things by continuing to work on yourself, by continuing to become better, that better version of yourself, by proving not only to others, but to yourself that you're growing, you're changing, you're getting better. And yeah, you had a setback, but you're not going to allow that setback to define your journey. You're not going to let one moment erase all the progress that you've made so far. That setback is just part of your story. It's part of you being human. And one day you'll be able to teach from it too. So, second thing, evaluate. Don't spiral. So, like I said before, we're going to start thinking logically, right? Like I said, what happened? What triggered me? But really, I want you to think what insecurity got activated? What fear was underneath that reaction? Because if this situation ever happens again, I don't want to react in the same way. I want to respond differently. If this happens again, the insecurity gets triggered, I'm going to do X. I'm going to go to that one place that I know I'll feel safe. I'm going to talk to that one person I know that I can count on to keep me accountable. I'm going to talk to that one person that needs to hear that I'm still insecure about this. I'm going to talk to my coach to make sure that I get perspective before I act on it. So having a game plan is going to help you respond. And especially when you are in that moment of fear and insecurity where you just can't really make a smart decision, this is where having a plan takes place and is going to be so useful for you to not make a mistake like that again. And I know sometimes we're afraid of what people are going to think, but you know what? Healing means allowing people to be upset with you or feel whatever they feel about you. And that's hard for anxious attachment because you want to fix it immediately. You want to control how people feel about you. But if you truly love someone, you have to let them have their emotions. Be upset. Let them process. Let them take space if they need to. And that is actually healthier long term for the relationship than constantly people pleasing and abandoning yourself just to avoid discomfort. Because again, it puts a lot of pressure on them and it puts pressure on you. Because eventually people, and they get tired of your bullcrap. They get tired of a relationship not being genuine. They get tired of you saying what they want to hear instead of what's actually true. And they can see through that. And it sounds harsh, but it is a form of manipulation. So stop it. Stop abandoning yourself. So now I challenge myself differently. If something makes me uncomfortable, I speak on it. Even if my voice shakes, even if I'm nervous or I feel silly, I'll literally tell myself, my voice shaking does not mean I'm wrong. It means that I'm expressing what's important to me. And afterward, I check in with myself. Okay, this week I was honest about this, or I spoke about this, or I didn't abandon myself in this area. Maybe it wasn't perfect. Maybe it was messy. Maybe I didn't speak up in this area. Maybe I let that opportunity to voice my opinion or voice my boundary fly by. But it matters. Healing is not perfection. It's about progression. Every time you choose yourself a little bit more, you build confidence. Every time you listen to your intuition, you rebuild trust with yourself. So acknowledging these things, acknowledging your progress every time, because now you're stopping abandoning yourself and you're healing little by little, day by day. And honestly, if you're anxiously attached, more than likely somewhere along the way, you did lose trust in yourself. So no, the goal is learning how to come back to yourself again, surrounding yourself with people who keep your life fruitful. Defeating setbacks also means being careful with who you bring them to, because not everybody deserves access to your vulnerable moments. And that's something I had to learn the hard way. When I was anxious and insecure, I would go around asking everybody for feedback. What do you think? How do I fix this? Was I wrong? What should I do? And honestly, that made everything worse. And sometimes it's not even because they hate you. Sometimes these people love you deeply, but they're hurting in certain areas of their own lives. And unconsciously, they're waiting to see if you fall too. Because if you crumble, it validates their own pain, fears, limitations. In comparison, don't even get me started. It creates a weird energy. It creates gossip, criticism, negativity, projecting on you. Sometimes even people speaking limitations and insecurities on your life without you even realizing it. So now I don't just tell everybody my mistakes. Honestly, I would tell one or two people at the most if I were you. Someone safe, wise, someone who genuinely wants the best for you, just enough to get it off your chest and process it. But and sometimes people say, well, that's keeping my things to myself. It's being wise with whom you share things with and creating a village where people can hold you accountable and love you for you no matter what. Proverbs 13:20 says, walk with the wise and become wise, for the companion of a fool suffers harm. Your village is important. You have to be willing to build that village intentionally, even if it means being alone for a little while you figure out who truly belongs around you. One of the best ways, actually, to think about people in your life is, would I want my future children around this person? Even if you don't have kids, would I trust this person around my children? Would I trust their influence? Would I want my kids to become like them? Because if the answer is no, why are they around you? Why are they close to you? Often, especially as women, we protect our children more than we protect ourselves, and that is not good. Your children matter, of course, but you also deserve the best. And if you cannot properly pour into others, you can't properly pour into anybody else if you're constantly abandoning yourself, constantly putting yourself on the back burner. So remember this, the people who are truly meant to be in your life will allow you to be yourself. Not the perform version of you, not the peacekeeping version of you, not the anxious shapeshifter version of you, the real you. That's why honesty is so important in relationships and friendships. Tell people your values. Tell them where you stand. Tell them what matters to you. People are so scared to do that because they think, well, what if they leave? What if they disagree with me? What if this ruins the relationship? But if someone cannot respect you because of your values or your honesty, then probably you were never safe with them to begin with. And I'm not saying everybody around you has to think exactly like you. Some of my closest friendships include people I disagree with politically, spiritually, or personally in certain areas, but we've talked about it openly, and I know where they stand. They know where I stand. And because of that, we can actually show up for each other better. Because love and respect say, I may disagree with you, but I still honor who you are. I still want to be around you, and that's important. Always surrounding yourself with people that actually share values with you. And honestly, this is why I created this space. This is why I organize this community, this conversations. That's why I do these videos, because I know a lot of us are dealing with anxious attachment, insecurity, people-pleasing, fear-based thinking, and reacting emotionally, and we don't even fully realize it until it starts affecting our relationships, our peace, and the way that we show up in life. And I don't want women to feel alone in that anymore. So if this is something you're struggling with, I do offer one-on-one sessions where we can sit down together and really talk through your situation, figure out what's actually going underneath the surface, why you're responding the way that you are in certain situations, and how to really move forward from there, grow and learn and apply. Because sometimes because you don't need judgment, you need guidance, clarity, strategy, someone really willing to listen to you. And if you're someone who really wants to dive deeper in this work and consistently grow, I also created a course designed to help women shift from survival mode to becoming the best version of themselves, called Put Down Your Sword, Pick Up the Crown. It's going over learning how to regulate emotionally, date intentionally, strengthen marriage, build confidence, heal anxious attachment, communicate better, trust themselves again, and truly operate from peace instead of fear. Because healing isn't just one moment, it's practice, it's daily choices to do better. It's learning how to show up differently over time. And over these courses, I want women to feel supported, guided, and seen while they're actively changing their lives. And if this message resonated with you, share it with someone who might need it too, because my goal with all of this is simple. I want people to heal. I want women to stop abandoning themselves. I want them to realize they are capable of becoming secure, peaceful, and emotionally healthy people, even if you didn't grow up that way. Because I know my mom was never taught any of that stuff. So she didn't teach any of us any of that stuff. So I grew up being very reactive to things, very much operating in survival mode, very much like, what can we do to make this situation better right now? Not really thinking long term, but thinking short term, which isn't very fruitful in any area of your life. So, if you have a setback, if you had a setback this week, and you're like, dang, I thought I was doing so much better. You are. Don't let that discount all the progress that you've made. Don't let that. What's the saying? Okay, I'm not good at sayings, but I will use this analogy that is pretty common. You know, if you go outside and you have a flat tire, you're not gonna go and slash all the other tires just because you're like, dang, got a flat tire. Like, no, you're gonna put a donut on there, go to a tire shop, get a new tire. Like, that's it. You have setback. You got a flat tire. Why? Because you ran over that pothole that you saw, that you knew was coming, and you ran over it anyway. So you feel guilty. You feel like, dang, like, I know better, and I did it anyways. What the heck? Okay, put a donut on there. Let's go fix it. Let's do better next time. When we see a pothole, we're like, we're not doing that again. When we see a pothole, we're gonna slow down, at least. If we can't move over to another lane, we're gonna slow down. That way we're not just like, ba-bam, over the pothole and bust our tire again. Or avoid it if I can. Avoid it altogether. And that's what you gotta do with your insecurities that are gonna be triggered. If you're still triggered by them, you might still be triggered later. And you can't just ignore that. You gotta have a plan for it. So let's come up with a plan. Let's think of it logically. Let's not sit in our shame. Guilt is fine. You're acknowledging that you did something wrong. It's fine to feel guilty. It's not fine to sit in shame, though. It's not what God wants. He doesn't want you to just sit there being shamed. Shame makes you act like crazy. It makes you do some crazy things to avoid any more harm. So let's not sit in shame. Let's move forward. Let's change the tire, put a new one on there, keep it moving. It's part of your story. Let's not discount that. So, this one's a short one, but I just wanted to speak on that because it's something that I just recently went through. You know, that every time I think about my setback, I'm like, ugh, like it's cringy, it's still fresh for me. But all I can do is acknowledge what triggered me, create a plan around it, move forward, continuously grow in finding my peace. Don't discount everything. Don't throw everything out the window. I hope you'll have a great week. Bye.